Those of you keeping up with the day and the time, it is Thursday, July 31st. Brendan's got cold
31st.
coffee. July 31st. That means
The
tomorrow.
Lions Gate is open, my friend. The Lions Gate is open.
Right,
That's all I say. It's
hey man, Brenden,
college football season.
College football season. It's blocking, tackling, it's practice, it's coaches' whistles, it's a lot of hollering and yelling and whatnot. But it is football, and nothing gets in the way of football. It's just, all that other stuff is a distraction. Rob Browne, Brenden Martin. We got Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, checking in first 20 minutes. And then John Hartwell and Matt Dean, coach, will join right after that, followed by Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa. Lot to cover today. Take a picture with your cell phone. The QR codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 8 shows on this channel. A lot of content.
9 times.
9. Okay.
9 times.
9 times. And get and follow it.
9 times.
Yeah, absolutely. The principal was right. And look, we cover a lot of great shows. So let's get started on this Thursday, July 31st, with Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart. And Tony, hey, what I love, I'm watching SEC Network now, and it's nothing but practice. There's one abbreviation that we won't use, and there's another term. None of that stuff matters anymore, because this college football practice, the smell of fresh cut grass, coaches hollering. I mean, what's better than this? How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. It's been an eventful couple of weeks. I saw your man Brenden down in Gainesville, Florida, the other night. Had a nice little gathering. That was a whole lot of fun. Yeah. But no, it's here. I mean, it's here. We don't. Tomorrow's August the 1st, as my old coach used to say. And you're right. Coaches out there screaming and yelling, and Kirby Smart's already told everybody the practices are going to be twice as hard as the game. So get ready for it. And and there's so many great storylines. We had a bunch of great ones last year. We had so many great storylines, and it's going to be fun.
It really is. And talking with Dave Bartu on our show Monday, Kirby Smart, best defensive coordinator in college football the last 15 years. And I asked that question to Gunnar Stockton at Media Days in Atlanta about the toughness and how much they benefit from it. And he said, absolutely. Let's start with Gunnar and him being QB1 at Georgia.
All of my Georgia friends, and I've got a lot of them, are all worried about Gunnar Stockton. Okay, Gunnar Stockton, he's not glamorous enough for them. He doesn't have a good enough arm for them. All I know is the guy wins. Yeah. He's a pickup truck driving boy from North Georgia. All right. Yep. And for those of us who've lived in Georgia, we know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And here's the other thing. Nick Saban taught me a long time ago, if you want to know who the starting quarterback of your team is, go into the locker room. Players know who the best quarterback is. And I think that, and I've said this every stop that I've made, this group of guys is not going to let Gunnar Stockton down. They're not going to let him fail. Now, does he have to throw 300 yards a game? Better not, because if he has to throw 300 yards a game, it's not going to be pretty. But what he can do is throw for 250 a game, and Georgia can somehow find the running game they've lost over the last 2 years. Do those two things, and I think that, and with the upgrades they've made, particularly at the wide receiver position, I think Georgia's going to be fine.
I seem to recall a very wise man from a small town in Georgia who would speak to the College of Business at Georgia several years in a row, and some of the fans were saying, "Tony, is Stetson Bennett coming back again?"
I said, "Yeah, he's coming back for his 9th year of eligibility." I mean, Stetson Bennett was just one of those guys. When you look at him, he's a walk-on, been here, been there, journeyman. You put him on the field. Let's understand this. He was very talented and knew how to play the game. He also played on a couple of teams that were just incredible from his talent standpoint. Yeah. He had a lot of great players around him, and so he's you never know.
Yeah, and he just wins. Next question: Tennessee right now. Josh Heupel, in 4 years, his quarterbacks have had a total of 18 interceptions. Some quarterbacks have 12 or 15. I think Garrett Nussmeier may have had 12 alone last year. Okay. That's right. You look at that right there. What's your gut feeling, Joey Aguilar, coming in out of Concordia, California?
The thing that fascinates me, guys, about the Tennessee and people evaluation of Tennessee, it doesn't occur to them that Joey Aguilar is going to really benefit by being coached by Josh Heupel. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean the guy knows how to coach quarterbacks. He knows how to put them in position to win, and I think he's going to be fine. Now, yeah, does losing a player like Nico impact your team? Yes, it does, but it doesn't. I think they're going to be fine. And look, we're going to find out, guys. I'm going to this game. Tennessee and Syracuse play in Atlanta to open the year. I'm going to go because I'm curious about. I just want to know what Tennessee's going to look like. And here's another thing: if people do their homework, Syracuse is pretty good. Okay,
they are.
So Tennessee better be ready for that game.
Tony, you and I and Brenden have all been given an assignment. We're all going to Fresh Market. We got $5,000. We buy the best groceries around. Brenden and I have to cook ourselves. Your coach is Gordon Ramsay. That's Josh Heupel. You know.
Yeah, well, it makes all the difference in the world. And so I think it's going to be an interesting year, guys, because I'm looking at, people asked about playoff teams. Tennessee was a playoff team last year, but all they won this year. Not a lot of people are giving them a chance to come back. And that's why, as my dear wife, Maria says, sweetheart, that's why we play the games.
That's right. So keeping it over east of the Chattahoochee, South Carolina, last year, 9-3, close loss to LSU, close loss at Bama, got beat 27-3 at home. Soundly, Ole Miss mattered in a bunch of wet hens the week after losing to Kentucky. How much better can South Carolina be with Lenoris Sellers? Now, everybody's got tape on him, but he's got tape on everybody else too.
Exactly. And this guy is incredibly gifted physically and from a talent standpoint. And if he can stay healthy, listen, guys, y'all remember South Carolina was playing as well as any team in the country in the back half of last year. And so I think if they can keep Lenoris Sellers happy, he is a tough dude to defend because he can beat you both ways. And so it'd be interesting to see how they go. And it's going to be fun.
Now, I know you get out, and I know some of the younger people don't understand, but you build relationships. You know Frank Beamer. How cool of a conversation is that going to be if you get I know you will, because you're a true grit journalist, with Frank Beamer and Shane before the Virginia Tech and South Carolina game?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Listen, the memories come flowing back from the days that Shane Beamer was carrying his dad's headset on the sideline. That was his job. He's grown up, and Shane's had many stops along the way. Coached at Tennessee, coached at Mississippi State. I followed his career, and he was always a great recruiter. Worked for Steve Spurrier at South Carolina, did a great job there. So I think the emotion between father and son, it's going to be real. And yet again, another good storyline.
It is. It really is. Let's head down I-75 to Alachua County, Florida. Man, Brenden and Buddy and friends and the Gator Bait team stay all over what's going on down there. DJ Lagway, it's normal to be banged up. I mean, you're going to get that's college football. But what's the your feeling about this Florida team? I got high hopes for them.
Well, spent a great deal of time with the Gators this weekend in Gainesville. And it's funny, every sentence begins like this. If DJ Lagway can stay healthy, fill in the blank, ... And that's the thing, and it doesn't help the old team morale that he's going around in a walking boot on the day that practice is starting. That is not what you wanted. But as Billy Napier said, hey, it's our job to get him ready to play and figure out what he can do from then on. So listen. So let's assume that DJ Lagway is going to be ready, answer the bell. You talk about a guy who's hard to defend with only 11 guys. That's him. I've read stuff now that how he's just so gifted. And again, Florida was in position to beat Georgia last year, which is a fact, before he got hurt. So I'm anxious to see how he's going to play and get started.
All right, watching SEC Network last night, Matt Stinchcomb, Peter Burns, Chris Doering, Roman Harper. They took Alabama's toughest road game. Two of them had Jordan Hare. Roman had, Georgia playing Alabama in Athens. Let's talk about how big that one's going to be.
It's huge because you're talking about the two programs that have been pretty much in control of this conference for quite a while now. And everybody, all the tests, everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen with Alabama's second year, Kalen DeBoer. What's that going to look like after a disappointing by their standards? What's that going to look like? And that is you can look at the Alabama schedule right here, okay? And you sit there and go, Florida State. We're going to learn a lot in that game because it's in Tallahassee. Louisiana, Monroe, Wisconsin. Good thing that's in Tuscaloosa. And then a week off, Georgia on September 27th. And that's when the rubber meets the road. Is there going to be a significant increase in improvement for Alabama? That's when you're going to find out, when you have to go to Athens.
Yeah. And I mean, it's an incredible, those two teams, how much they've dominated the last decade. Really strong. All right, flipping over west of the Chattahoochee, looking at Hugh Freeze and Auburn and Alabama, they both they both watch everything each other does. But Jackson Arnold's coming in. You got some talent in the QB room, but what's it like, you think, for Jackson Arnold to go from Oklahoma and having to learn new stuff? And I don't think he's going to be shocked by the speed of the SEC.
No, I don't think so. And I think Jackson Arnold's going to be fine. If you dig in deep and look at what really happened to him at Oklahoma, it was just an unusual set of circumstances. Okay. And so now I think he's back in a situation with a quarterback coach who's very good, particularly developing these guys. So I think Jackson Arnold's going to do good. We'll see. Again, every conversation, guys, we're going to have this year is going to be mitigated by this. There are so many good teams in the SEC. I don't know if that's a great one or not. Yeah. That's to be seen. But there are so many good teams in the SEC is that every week's going to be an adventure. And for that, and if you're one of those teams, well, a coach told me, he came into the league many years. Well, it was Kevin Sumlin. I'll tell you who it was. Yeah. And he and I were talking. I said, "What's the biggest difference?" I said, "What's the difference between 8-4 and 10-2, or 8-4 and 11-1?" He said, "That's real simple. It's a handful of plays and a handful of games. And if you make those plays, it's the difference between an okay year and a good year." And a lot of teams in this conference are in that boat. They have the ones who find a way to win the close games are going to end up being in the conversation for the playoffs.
Yeah. Looking at LSU, they've got a lot of talent. Brian Kelly, 5 straight losses for LSU. He's been there for 3 of them. So you look at what Marcus Freeman is doing at Notre Dame. I had a great conversation with my good friend Pete Cordelli last night, who coached at Notre Dame and has been around a long time. Pete's got a new book coming out. And Pete, I'm going to get him on the show here in the next week. We talked about what Marcus is doing up there. And then, Brian Kelly at LSU. Is this the year where people are going to say, okay, it's never going to get any better? You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. But with LSU, Tony, you and I both know it, and everybody with brain matter between their ears knows they are so loaded. It's just having the right breaks, isn't it?
I do not understand the skepticism about Brian Kelly. The guy's won every place he's ever been. He's the all-time winner in the history of the University of Notre Dame. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And he has surrounded himself by talent. He's been very candid. When we met with him in Destin, he said, this is the best roster I've had. I said, the best roster you've had? Wow. Yes, wow. The best roster I've had. Obviously got an NFL quarterback. And here's the key number. 106, I think it's 106. That's where their defense placed 2 years ago. Last year, their defense improved slightly, 61. Yeah. They got better, and they are convinced that they're going to make the way they aggressively went after the transfer portal. They are convinced that their defense will take another step forward. If that happens, they can beat anybody in this conference. Well, I'll just say it. They're my dark horse team. Okay. They're my dark horse team to get to Atlanta.
And the SEC is so loaded. You could make I came up with my top 6 right now. Things can change in no particular order: Georgia, Texas, Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. And then that's not even including LSU, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Auburn. And since the virus, it's Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Those are the top 3 winningest teams. So let's look at Ole Miss. Everybody saw The Drive last November by Austin Simmons. Kind of like everybody saw Gunnar Stockton in a sample size, and they've got their opinion on him one way, and other people are thinking Austin Simmons, he'll be in New York. What do you think?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. Austin Simmons is very, very talented. He's but you got to prove it on a week in, week out basis. But I'm just saying, Lane Kiffin's one of the best play callers and coordinators in our generation, and I think he's going to do. As long as Austin Simmons doesn't believe he's Jackson Dart, okay, as long as he's Austin Simmons, and he's a left-hander, he's got a lot of talent. And I think they will do fine. But again, you got to figure out a way to make the plays with the game on the line. Jackson Dart could do that. Can Austin Simmons do it? We don't know until they play the games.
Yeah, and that anticipation. I mean, with what Ole Miss has done, with what Lane Kiffin does with quarterbacks, they should be good. But I like what you said too. Josh Heupel, he is so undervalued as a quarterback mentor, and that makes all the difference in the world. Because look what Lane Kiffin did 3 straight years at Alabama, 14, 15, and 16. That's what we're talking about. All right, switching now to Texas A&M. Mike Elko, last year they won 8 games. They were on top of the world, and then they weren't. What do you see happening this year? Because they've got a really deep offensive line, and that matters.
Yeah, all five starters coming back on the offensive line. And they feel good about where they are from a quarterback standpoint. I think the defense is going to be even better. First of all, Mike Elko is your tough, hard-nosed line coach.
Yeah.
And you got to like everything about him. And that was just, when you got as many good teams in a conference as the SEC, those things happen. The things that collapsed last year. So I think they'll be fine. But then again, Texas A&M is going to be good, but where do you put them? Where are they going to find their niche? Are they going to find a way to win, some of these tight games? And that's what it's going to come down to. But they've got the talent. There's no question about that, particularly on the offensive and defensive line of scrimmage.
All right, Tony, just a couple of more minutes. I know you got a big day ahead of you. Arkansas, year 2 in the Sam and Bobby Petrino system for Taylon Green. Yesterday, Dudley Dawson was on hogville.net. They think he goes, I think Taylon Green is 6'8". I mean, but he's a big kid. What do you think happens up with Arkansas? I mean, and Sam Pittman in year 6.
Man, you talk about Taylon Green coming in from Boise State, and where am I going? Well, I'm going to Arkansas, and who's going to be calling the plays and coaching me there? Well, there's this Petrino guy who people think is pretty good.
Yeah,
but you talk about a player, a player being in the perfect situation for him. And we all know what Bobby Petrino can do with dual threat quarterbacks. He's proven it time after time. So I think he's going to have another big year. What's interesting, it was low key because Arkansas was going 4-8.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that Bobby Petrino and his offense had a great year. I mean, they were really, really good. And so we'll see.
Yeah. And lastly, just as a whole, SEC dominance, 17 of the last 20 national championship games, an SEC team has been in it, won a bunch of those. Big Ten's won 2 in a row. Is that the storyline heading into this season, or is it something else?
To me, it's Alabama. I mean, can the SEC return? That's a big storyline. When you talk to the coaches, the SEC coaches, they sort of grit their teeth. They don't like to be reminded of it. But I promise you, given the love between the Big Ten and the SEC, they're gonna remind you every single time that they get. So I'll go with that storyline. But to me, it's Alabama because you can it was a disappointing finish. They felt they should have been in the playoffs, but you lose to Oklahoma that late, you're probably not going to get in. And so what happens now? Do they show significant improvement? The fact they've got Grubb back as their offensive coordinator, that I think I said this to you guys, people on the staff are telling me Ryan Grubb coming back and reunited with Kalen DeBoer, you cannot overstate how big that is.
Oh,
and so they feel really good about it. Do they make the next step and get into the playoffs? Because if they don't get into the playoffs, that's 2 years in a row they've picked 12 football teams to play in the postseason, and Alabama hadn't been one of them.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like, and I'll close with this, everybody that can get there needs to be in Atlanta opening weekend. That is going to be Gary Stoken. I'm trying to get him on the show with us. But, man, the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, you got Tennessee and Syracuse. Fran Brown wins 10 games in year one for the Orange, and he came from Georgia. You know, that's a guy, you know him. You just knew he was going to be successful. He brought back a lot of traditions at Syracuse, and they got I think they're the 16th winningest team in the history of college football, or 17th. And then the game between South Carolina and Virginia Tech. Tony, how do people follow you, get your great book, and everything else that you're doing? And as always, thank you more than you know for sharing your time. And let's do this again very soon. And everybody in Memphis is waiting for you to come kick off football season.
August 18th, we'll be there. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. It's always a fun group. What I'll do is I'll promote the book, The 19 of Green. You guys have had me on before, and it's the best place to get it now is Amazon.com, The 19 of Green. And we're working on another book now about my 50 years covering the SEC, my memory book, I'm calling it. So we're doing a little memory tour. Just got back from seeing the gang at the University of Florida. We had a wonderful reception at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. What a great night. We had about 25 people there and a lot of great former players and stuff. So I'm making my little tour and during the summer. And then this book is Mr. College Football, 50 Years of SEC Memories. And that will come out late next year.
Well, we have to keep you around for 150 years. You are so special to Southern college football, the whole game. But man, look here. There's so much football to talk about. We didn't talk about that other stuff. I love it.
Good.
All right, Tony, take care.
Okay, guys, we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Matt Dean, I love it. You know, I had on the dreaded striped shirt right before we came on the air, and Brenden was like, foul. I like that red shirt right there. That is.
I didn't check with you guys on the dress code. We haven't got the.
Oh no, it was
yet, but I thought this would be appropriate.
Oh, it's great. No, it's just funny because when you have striped shirts on, it pixelates the camera and stuff like and whatnot and such. John Hartwell now will probably show up in a loud flowered Hawaiian shirt or something like that. Hey man, check out those lights out gummies. They work. You will sleep 7 or 8 hours like a 9-year-old kid with no bills and obligations. Absolutely amazing. They'll ship them to you right away. No hangover. Really, I don't think any calories. Amazing. They've got energy, chill, and knockout. That is Dave Bartu, who's on this show every week, College Football Matrix, works with the NFL players. And he said the first player he ever tried these out on was Mike Singletary. Pretty good football player. Remember him, the linebacker with the crazy eyes?
Samurai Mike, they called him back in the Chicago Bear days. I'm a huge fan of Mike.
Mike said, I slept 7-8 hours straight. He goes, I hadn't slept like that in years. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good, my friend. We're closer to college football, so it's really exciting. And got a chance to listen to Tony there in the tail end of the segment. What a pleasure it is to just listen to him speak and tell his story and paint a picture, right, Rob? You said it best, man. He's football in the South, Tony Barnhart. There's nothing better.
It's just all these great writers like Buddy Martin. I mean, and Kevin Skarbinski, was on with us yesterday. He's on this channel.
Listen to him.
You can't say it enough about these great. No, you got your favorite restaurants that you like to go to, Chinese, Italian, Mexican, whatever. You got your writers. It's the same thing. And man, when you read, it's so powerful. Now, John Hartwell, being an AD at ULM, he said, I got hung up. Sorry. So he may or may not be able to join us, but such are the duties of being an AD, 17 sports coaches that you are in charge of. So anyway, Gary Harris will be on here in about 10 minutes. Matt, Big Ten SEC. I'll tell you right now, I was asked this question Tuesday night on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows. Great show. Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. can the Ohio high school football players compete with and keep up with the Florida high school players? And I was like, absolutely yes. Twice the population in Florida that you have in Ohio. But the Big Ten, Ohio is the number 5 state in America for producing D1 football players. Number 1 is California. Texas. Number 2 is California. And Florida and California are both around 370, 375 a year. So, Matt, I think that Texas goes in this year, not going to be a surprise, and wins on the road in Columbus. They are replacing so many players there. But like I asked Tony, isn't that the narrative right now heading into the year? Is the SEC, has it lost its dominance to the Big Ten? I don't think so. I think it's a pause to reflect. And I look for a dead cat bounce from the SEC this year. That's a stock market term.
The reason I don't agree with that statement is, honestly, I think Ohio State got hot last year. If they didn't, we'd have had a different national champion. I mean, you look at Ohio State against Michigan at the shoe. They were borderline really bad on offense.
Yeah.
So now this is what's interesting about that matchup, and I'm glad you asked me that question. We're going to know a lot about Arch early on because you go on the road, hostile environment, defending national champion, but Ohio State had 15 draft choices in the NFL. I think it may have been a record for their program, which with their history is pretty impressive, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I think if Texas does what you just said, they are going to be really, really tough to beat because when you look at their schedule, there are a few games that are going to challenge them. But I think going on the road to Ohio State, it's kind of similar. I think their situation is comparable to any defending national champion that goes early, either a neutral site game or on the road that has lost a lot of people. I go back to, was it 19 when LSU made that incredible run?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lost all those guys. And then that was started the demise with Coach O with that next season, the momentum factor. I think Texas, because they lost last year to Ohio State, I think they go in there, and I think they're really good on defense, guys. I watched you on media days. Their defense can go on the road and shut them down, kind of like they went last year on the road to Michigan. Now, I know Michigan was not as good last year, but Michigan was defending national champion last year. Texas goes there and clubs them. I think Texas did the same thing. Maybe it's a 24-17 type game, but I honestly think that Texas wins that game. I agree with you because they have more of a certainty at the quarterback position, regardless of the amount of starts that Arch has had.
I don't know about you guys, but the way things that are starting to marinate to me, maybe I'm just running a lot of models in AI right now for the 2025 college football
Possibly.
season. But, hey, before AI, we just played Madden. There was just one other way to determine it. It's just another way to siphon off the anxiety of it all. Man, Texas just comes out every single time. Who's going to win my SEC when I start? It just really I mean, now, okay, a la Florida, if Arch is good, if Arch can play as well as they think, it can DJ stay healthy. It's one of those things. But I think, the way I just think Texas reloads a little easier. And they just seem to be so loaded. And I think their first year in the SEC was a little gets your feet wet. And I think now you're going to have to get ready for Texas because they're going to be ready for you. I think they're just going to be a real tough team to beat this year.
All right, Brenden, along those lines, this is I guess it's a diametrically opposing argument that you can be made for or against AI. These predictive models that are coming out are saying one thing, but still about human behavior and what happens with a bunch of 18. I used to say 18 to 22-year-olds, but in the day of the portal, 18 to 28-year-olds on the roster. Well, I think we're past most of that. But, Brenden, it all comes out Texas pretty much was what you're saying? I mean.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, obviously you're going to take emotion out of it. That's what AI does, the Occam razor, formula. So you're going to take these emotions out of it, which obviously is a huge part of what happens. And you can't ever, but humans are incredibly predictable. And, especially when you have I was talking to Dave Bartu about this yesterday on the phone when we were geeking out about this. It's about clean data in get you clean data out. It's just as important that your data going into the NEAI is clean. You got to have the right. It's not going to go fix your data points and say, oh, this is wrong, and go double check it. AI, you have to tell it to reason with itself when you need it to think, right? I want you to do this, but then I want you to recheck your work. I want you to reason with yourself, double check your work, and then go back. And that's, where a lot of people go wrong with large data points like this. And so, talking to a guy like Dave Bartu or whatever, who has all of these, a lot of these data points, or if you go get them, right, and you trust that source, you can get some pretty interesting looks, especially when you look at betting lines and you look at because you can start to feed on top of said clean data points. Hey, what's the schedule next year? Lay that in. Okay, what did so and so do in Ohio State last year? What's the weather tomorrow? And then you can continue to teach it to learn. And what you're telling it to do is now you're going to go look for these things without me telling you to, because it's Saturday. Because I've reminded you on Saturdays, I need you to update to go look for. So now we're looking into real time statistics, and that's where things really start to get interesting when you're a college football freak like all of us are. So
Yeah.
I don't mean to be a long answer there. I just hope that it was thoughtful in the sense of
no, it is.
AI is a tool. It's not a brain yet. And it needs to be prompted correctly, and those who know how to use it that way are going to start to rise to the top. And I think that's going to, that affects gambling and everything else.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
No, that is a great answer. And Matt, that being said, you look at, Texas going to Ohio State, Clemson, LSU. These are early bellwether indicators of what might happen throughout the season. But human behavior being what it is, emotions and all like that, LSU, they don't want to lose this game at Clemson because they'll have to hear 6 straight opening game losses. It's not, look, you go from Joe Burrow in 2019 holding up the national championship trophy to now 5 or 6 time transferee TJ Finley. I mean, it was horrible in 2020. But got to ask you now about another angle on this Clemson Georgia game. Clemson LSU. Who's the real Death Valley? That's what it's really about. Clemson started calling it Death Valley, according to our Clemson insider reporter, Will Vandervoort, in 1939.
That's what, yeah.
LSU 1959, when Billy Cannon ran that punt back Halloween night against Ole Miss, a game that 7.8 million people claim to have attended in person.
Why I had this thought in my head, Brenden, I think what you described was spot on. And I think, for just my guess, for all these years before AI, handicappers in Vegas were using some of the same, metrics that you were talking about to create lines, right? And they probably still do, obviously. But one of the things, I'm going to give you a little Dino AI right here in terms of Florida's schedule. And I just realized this, guys. You guys have talked about this probably ad nauseum, but how about this stretch for Florida? Week 3 at LSU, week 4 Miami, week 5 Texas at home. The next week at A&M, everyone's telling us to drink the A&M Kool-Aid. I don't know if I believe it yet. And then 2 weeks after that, they play Georgia. That may be the most brutal stretch. If you look at the composite, Brenden, of everything in the SEC, I don't see a more brutal stretch. And I went through Texas' schedule. Yeah, they go Ohio State. But you can make an argument. I know Florida has a bye before they play Texas on October 4th, which is always important when they're coming off that Miami game. They have a week of maybe a little rest or whatever and kind of reacclimate. But, I want to pick Florida at 10 wins. I will tell you, if they get to 10 wins with this schedule again, it was brutal last year too. I mean, not only are they in the playoffs, I think they're a really good seed, because that's just – tell me I'm wrong. I mean, because I hope Florida wins 10, because that's what I'm thinking. But you got to have some big wins early in that season.
Yeah, it's all about DJ Lagway and being healthy, right? I mean, he's in the boot. I don't think it's. Reports are that it's not a big deal. It's precautionary.
Right.
I'm sorry though. You don't want to sit out spring and summer fall when you got new receivers and a new quarterback that needs to get some timing. That's a problem. It's not. It's a problem. I don't care what anyone says. It's not okay. To not and Billy Napier, nobody's happy about it, including Lagway and everybody else. They want to start getting that timing. So yes, that's a thing. Yeah, I think if Florida wins 10 games, Florida might be the best team in the country.
Agreed.
That's what I think.
I think if they go 9-3, they're in with that schedule. I mean, I think there's a really good argument. Depends on how everything else plays out in the league and around the country, but I think 9-3 they may be in. I really do.
It's a really good. I mean, because we've talked about this many times this season. Yesterday, I hate to repeat myself, but we are losing a game is not the end of the world anymore in college football. It is a pro model that we're barreling towards, and you're going to have to. What did Billy Napier said yesterday? I was looking at his press conference, breaking it down. He said, "What 80% of our season, 80% of any college football team season now is played with 2 quarterbacks. Because you just have to platoon that whole thing." Kind of interesting to me, but I think the bellwether or the canary in the coal mine, somewhat of the SEC is how good Florida is going to be, and how well, we don't have divisions anymore, but how much will Florida affect the SEC this year will be very interesting.
You're looking at
a lot of really good teams.
Yeah, and you can, like I said, when I throw out my top 6, it hits me. I'm like, I'm leaving out right now South Carolina, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Tennessee, and then there's 5 more after that. But I've got, in no particular order, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. I'm not with A&M, and I'm trying to get Billy Lucci on here because Olin Buchanan from TexAgs.com does the show at the same time we do. But I really want to know what mentally, how fragile or strong is that locker room. Just like Tony said, you want to know who the starting quarterback is, just go in the locker room. You'll find out real fast. That's why, Gunnar Stockton, people remember the Notre Dame game, and they remember the series that Austin Simmons ran for Ole Miss against Georgia. That's just a sample size. If you're going to buy a new house, you're going to look in every room in the house and look at the building inspector's report on a commercial piece of property, whatever you got to do. There's a lot involved. But Gary, you got it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Gary Harris, WVUA Channel 23 in Tuscaloosa. How you doing? It is football practice time. All those acronyms and other distractions, they're gone. We're talking ball. How you doing?
Good. I won't be able to make a lot of eye contact because I am driving, so I need to be careful.
Safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's all good here. I joked on my sportscast last night on TV that despite the fact that the heat index was like 110 yesterday, there was football in the air.
Yeah.
You could feel it. That's a great thing about football. It doesn't. I think people even fool themselves when they walk out in the morning and it's football practice time. They kind of feel, it feels a little cooler, good first day. All indications are it was a really positive first day. As Coach DeBoer said afterwards, though, you expect that. The first day you expect the energy level to be high, regardless of the heat. The challenge is to keep up that energy level and that excitement, enthusiasm, and the willingness to work all through the 20 fall camp practices before you play a game. So, good looking team. A lot of guys back from last year. Second year of the program, the coaching staff. We were able to meet with Coach DeBoer on Monday in a little off the record deal. Some of us were, and I think it's clear to me at least that it's his program now. Coach Saban was incredible. He was great, but that transition's complete and over with, and it's Coach DeBoer's time at Alabama, and I think they're going to have a really good team.
Yeah, and it's really neat because he's got Ryan Grubb back, and Tony Barnhart was on with us in the first segment, and Matt talked about it, and so did Brenden. Those two together. Nick Sheridan had his time last year, different role now. Talk about that quarterback room. Ty Simpson, remember, he's a coach's son. His dad, I think his dad, Matt, has been the coach at UT Martin for about 20 years, and he's got a younger brother at Martin Westview coming up. But I think that says a lot about this kid's character, much like Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I think you could say that's similar. And Jason Martin's done a really good job, or Jason Simpson, I should say, done a really good job there at Tennessee Martin too. That's a good program. Yeah, I think what it does, Rob, is that when you're a coach's son, you grow up around it. You understand the inner workings of a program. And I think once you get to college, if it doesn't just necessarily go your way right off the bat, you've got great counsel at home, right? Not only from the father standpoint, but from a coaching standpoint, and someone that you can bounce things off of and discuss with, and he can give you fatherly advice, and also just, hey, son, this is how it works. You know, this is time football. You know, you may have to just kind of be patient, make sure you're getting better every day, prepare like you're the starter, and so that when your time does come, you're ready to go. And I think his dad probably was able to tell him, hey, listen, man, the grass isn't always greener. And once you get into that portal mode, sometimes you can never get out of it. You know, we've seen this happen too. You know, the portal can be a positive, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We've seen players, quarterbacks, they get in portal mode. They leave a program that they wanted to be at. They go somewhere else. They don't get the results there right away, and then jump again. And the next thing you know, you're looking at a guy that's at 4 or 5 schools and has really never been the player or become the player that he wanted to be. So I think this is also an example for other quarterbacks that sometimes it just isn't going to happen overnight, man. Get better, learn the system, be prepared when your time comes. And I think Ty Simpson's time will come this year. You know, Kalen DeBoer has not named a starter. I don't know that he will for a while, but I think that, the strong indications are that it's going to be Ty
Matt
Simpson.
Dean, jump in this conversation with Gary Harrison, Tuscaloosa. I love it if we could get the wind to see all the different restaurants going down McFarland Boulevard. Might see the Casa. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Gary, good to be on with you, my friend. I agree. Quarterbacks, I had an example I used on a different conference, different school, but Oregon last year had Dante Moore, who was a starter at UCLA, originally recruited by Oregon, transferred back and sat a whole year behind Dylan Gabriel. I also think it points to the amount of money you put in the quarterback room these days. I'm being a capologist now. I think it's around 10% of your budget, which means you're probably spending about $1.5 million in the quarterback room. And if that's the case, you better pay your backup, right? And if you do that and you have some injuries or sometimes you can get him some reps, it's really important. So I'm pulling for this young man. I think he's been around the program long enough to see the good and the bad and the ugly. And I just think because they're going to protect him, they're going to run the football. He's got one of the best receivers in college football in Ryan Williams, and they got a great roster. Rob, I think it's going to be a smooth transition. And I do think, I like the fact he's going to be battle tested week 1 at Florida State. I know they were not very good last year, but this is going to be their reclamation game to try to be competitive and prove to the world that they're back. And I'm really, that game and the LSU Clemson game to me, and Texas Ohio State, 3 great games. And let's not undersell the Auburn Baylor game either, Rob. That's a Friday night 7:00 broadcast. Man, Baylor, Dave Aranda's probably, you talk about the seat, it's pretty hot there. And I know Hugh's got a lot to prove as well. So I think that's a big college football game as well.
It's to prove it. It's the loser leaves town match. No, but I mean, it is matter. And I will say this, Gary, Alabama going on the road at Florida State in game 1. We all know what Gus does. He's going to be wearing a sweater vest in 150-degree heat, picking his nose on the sidelines. That's just what he does. And he'll be ready, but we know what his offense is. If you played high school football, you do. And Gary, I think too with Alabama, with what they see in practice every day, guys, the Alabama offense against the Alabama defense in practice, the defense against the offense, it's better than most talent on like 99% of the teams in America. So I don't think Alabama gets surprised at Florida State. Gary, and Mike Norvell, he made the wrong bet last year, and they had the worst season since Darryl Mudra was there. That well-known figure that was the coach before Bobby Bowden got there. Darryl Mudra, may I remind you. But
remember him, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was once I pulled into the parking lot here, the Wi-Fi
I
tried
figured.
to jump on my phone, but it wasn't powerful enough, so it knocked me out there for a little bit. So I had to cut the Wi-Fi off, but I'm back.
It's live
now.
TV.
Sorry. Yeah, and when you're en route to your show, it happens. But
Gary, we cannot get better.
I missed a lot about what you guys were talking about, but the Florida State game is going to be a big game. I think that was some of it. And with what you were saying, Rob, I did catch that about Gus Malzahn. I had a discussion about this on my radio show yesterday. I think he's a likable guy. A few times that I was around him, but I do think that he has, and this is what I'm going to call it, he has a competitive dislike for the University of Alabama. And what I mean by that is I think that when he was at Auburn, he understood, give him credit, what that game meant. And I think that he almost kind of took it a little bit personal. And I always sense that I'll give you a couple of examples. First of all, what a great job Auburn did in 2010 when he was the offensive coordinator, coming back from 24-0 down at Bryant-Denny to win that game and keep their national championship hopes alive. And then in 2014, the year after the kick six, you guys probably remember this. It was a crazy game. Alabama scored first, then Auburn jumped out to, I want to say, about a 3-score lead, or at least a 2-score lead.
It was like 30-22 at the half.
Yeah. And then Blake Sims and Amari Cooper went crazy, and that game was 55-36. Okay, with about a little over 2 minutes to go, maybe even a little less than 2 minutes. Alabama kicked off to Auburn. And Gus Malzahn treated that drive like it was to win the game. A lot of coaches, they're going to try to make, but they're not. He called all 3 timeouts. I remember him running down the sideline in a full sprint to call a timeout. I think they scored on the last play of the game, or 2 or 3 seconds to go, and then went for 2. Yeah, because he wanted that score to be as close as he could get it. So 50. You could tell, and I talked to some people afterwards that at Auburn said, he didn't want to walk out there 55-36. He wanted to be 55-44, and because it sounded better, and that was a crazy game. And then after, I think later on down the line, he said, "Well, we should have hung 60 on him." Well, you should have, because then you'd have won the game.
That's what it would have taken.
And then there was one game there where Tua lit them up, I think, for 5 or 6 touchdown passes. I can't remember what once, and there was a holding call early in the game that brought an Auburn touchdown back. And he harped on that call and just wouldn't let it go. You'd interview him 2 or 3 months after the game. Well, we got a Phantom Hold'em call, or we were one. He really is going to put a lot into that game, even more so maybe than most first games that an offensive coordinator, Rob. And I think you could probably speak to what I'm talking about. He has a very competitive dislike for the University of Alabama.
Well, he's quirky and kind of odd. I don't dislike him personally. I just think you've got to constantly evolve, and you also have got to get over things that happen. Heading into that 2014 season, got to get 13 seconds butter. Yeah, he needs his own brand of butter, by the way, because that's how he says the word better, butter. But you cannot let things – if you're more concerned about what happened last year than you are focused on what's about to happen or what you can make happen, it causes you a lot of problems. I think it does. Guys, I love it that we're in practice. I love these comments, man. Wow. Maury Gaston, you're right. Yeah, he was 3-5. That was the best record. You're right. But and not Saban and Alabama just did not lose many games. But you look here at all these matchups. Gary, Alabama in the last 10 games, 9-1 against Georgia. I referenced Matt. We were watching on the color TV. As expensive as cable is, the neighbors had the blinds pulled up, and so I was watching SEC Now. And I talked Roman Harper from Prattville, a Lion. Love this guy. He comes on the show a lot. Said, I think Alabama's toughest game is at Georgia because it means so much to Georgia, but it means a hell of a lot to Alabama. It's the I-20, to I-85 rivalry. What do you think the significance of that game is? Because it's the biggest early – you've got Florida State on the road, but it's the big conference game early.
Well, I have not done my game-by-game predictions yet, which I will do before the season. Yeah. I'll go through each game, and I'll say right now, And then this is just me talking on July 31st without having really gone through the schedule game by game. I might feel differently when I start breaking it down to make actual predictions. I like Georgia in that game, and it's not, I understand, what Alabama's done against Georgia. I mean, outside of the one national championship game, it's been as one-sided. In fact, it's shocking how one-sided it's been when you consider how good Georgia has been under Rick and Kirby, especially since Kirby got there. So it makes no sense, really, that Alabama has, as good as Alabama's been, still that they've dominated Georgia the way they have. Having said that, it's in Athens. It's going to be at night. I think all the things that we're talking about, Georgia realizes, and they're just too good, and they've been too good to just continue to lose to Alabama. So, my feeling right now is that Georgia will win that game against Alabama, and I think it's going to be a heck of a football game. But I like Georgia there.
Yeah, and it's going to be wild. Matt, I think a great way to go to the Alabama at Georgia game would be to go buy a new car, truck, or SUV from our good friends at Landers Ford. Put the QR code up there a little while ago, but just remind you, they're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our good friend Brad Bellamy is the general manager. He's on the show Fridays. Talk to him. Get involved. LandersFordMemphis.com. Matt, that being said, I think there was a game years ago when Saban first got to Alabama. Maybe it was 2008. Didn't Alabama go on the road to play Georgia in Athens, and they had a blackout?
31-0 at halftime.
Yeah, and Alabama, I mean, it was Hulk Hogan, God rest in peace, my man. I would have been proud of that one, Matt. I mean, that's you don't ever want to invite Alabama. Don't say anything to make a program like that, Matt.
Yeah, that was kind of the arrival game for Nick Saban in Alabama. Georgia was a big favorite. It was an electric atmosphere, and it was over at halftime. I mean, it was a stunning result. Now, I will say this. I was talking about how Auburn played it down to the final whistle in 2014. Give Georgia some credit there in that game. They kind of did the same thing in the second half. They, onside kicks and going for two and wound up making that final. Rob, Matt, can y'all think of the final score? But it was 31-0 at half, and it wound up, I want to say, maybe 42-30 or something like. I mean, it was Georgia in the second half made the score much more respectable, but it was over at halftime. But this season, this game is a big game for Alabama. If they can win that game and be 4-0 and have a win over Georgia already on their resume, it could set the stage for a special season. But for Georgia at home, maybe Matt, join in. I mean, I just think that this year it's going to be Georgia's time to win that game.
Gary, I think you're right, and plus the home away factor, and you're right. I mean, and the beauty of it right now with our system, even with 12, and whenever we go to 16, good for that. But you can go 10-2 and comfortably be in the playoffs. I mentioned, Gary, right before you came on. I mean, with Florida's schedule, you can make an argument that Florida goes 9-3 with that schedule. They're right there as well. So I just think you're going to see a lot of 1-2 loss teams at the top of the SEC because they just are going to beat each other up. And I go through the Big Ten schedule too because my son works at a Big Ten school, and I know we beat this in the ground, but Gary, I'm just telling you, they're not the games like even this year for my Oregon Ducks. Their toughest two games are arguably at Penn State and then at Washington. Well, that's not quite like what I described what Florida has in 6 weeks, with those games. I'm just telling you, scheduling matters when it's not a perfect world. As an old basketball coach, well, I'm back to being, I'm a current basketball coach, but like when you play round robin, it's different. You got home and away. And basketball, the beauty of it is if you usually get we have a saying, if you can win at home and split on the road, you usually have a chance to be pretty good. Yeah. Well, in football, you darn straight better win at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's where if you're Georgia and you lose to Bama at Georgia this year, they may be in trouble of making the college football playoff.
That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it, Matt. Hey guys, I got to go. I'm sorry that I got caught en route and lost the signal for a little bit. If I'd have remembered to turn the Wi-Fi off, I would not have lost the signal. But got to run. Thanks a lot, guys.
Hey guys, Gary Harris, thank you so much. Catch him Tide 100.9 right after we go off the air. Put that app on your phone. God, great talk. Covers Alabama, the SEC college football. Hey, let's get to some of these questions. Dr. Arnoff, I think the guy's name is Cody Cameron, the wealthy businessman, was a 4-year letterman at Texas Tech, played a couple of years in the NFL, is pumping a lot of money into the Texas Tech program. And, I mean, that's the Cotton Belt. Altus, Oklahoma to Lubbock, Texas. More cotton grown in that region than anywhere else in the world, except for, as my friend in my class at Auburn said one time, a big old fellow wearing overalls, about 6'5", 320, said, you talking about the Yangtze River? And everybody was like, sure. He was a giant, But Yangtze River in China is where they grow more cotton anywhere in the world. I would think it's the Mississippi Delta where we are, Matt, but I digress. All right, looking at the dude, yes, he's pumped a lot of money into it. Texas at Florida. There's so many storylines, Matt, and I love it. And let me say real quick, get out to Hewlett and Dunn on the square in Collierville. Any chance you get, they're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And Brenden, I'm telling you what, this is awesome. They do their boot of the week on Instagram. And get out there, talk to Raven and Charles and JM, the whole crew. A couple of days ago, I was talking to JM at Hewlett and Dunn. 28 new boxes of stuff had arrived. It's coming in every day, just like college football season. Matt, this is just such an awesome time of the year. I'm sitting there thinking about, man, all these games coming up. Tell us right now, what's a storyline people need to be paying attention to? Because I think we're on the other side of all this stuff. You can get caught up in all the negativity if you want to, but that is a waste of your positive resources.
I will tell you, just because I have a little insight to personnel, recruiting and scouting. I think with the House's settlement, and basically we have kind of a firm budget, and then we have third-party vendor deals with the Deloitte firm approving or not approving. I think people are now really turning. Rob, you said it earlier. It's an NFL mindset. No different than if you're in the NFL, you're not going to be the Miami Dolphins and go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl anymore, right? You're going to lose some games.
Yeah.
Look at Ohio State last year. We thought they were for dead after they played terrible against Michigan at home. They got hot. They won a national championship. So I think there's so much parity, Rob. I say that at the end of the day, you look at some of the quarterback play in the SEC this year, it's just a show. I mean, you look LSU Nussmeier. You look at Florida Lagway. You look at, obviously, Arch Manning. Even the transfer situation we talked about with Auburn. Can Jackson Arnold, can Hugh Freeze go to the lab and get the most out of Jackson Arnold? Because they have a schedule. I think they could go 10-2, Rob. Lenore Sellers. I mean, my gosh, South Carolina, 9 wins last year. They were a borderline playoff team. We rarely talk about South Carolina, Rob. I think we're making a mistake. I agree. Beamer and his tree with his father, he's going to have great special teams. He's going to have very good defense, and he's got a quarterback that is hard to contain and bring down. So I'm just telling you, there's so many great stories, and I know A&M with Elko as the head coach are going to be really well coached defensively. And it's Marcel Reed, the guy. Now that it's his show, is he the guy that turns into like a Sellers from South Carolina? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's so many great storylines. Hey, just got a text from our man Gary Stoken in Atlanta. He is going to join us tomorrow morning on the Friday College Roundtable. Of course, he's the CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Kickoff Classic, the Atlanta Sports Authority. One of the guys that moves the needle in college football. You will want to watch tomorrow morning and watch the Buddy Martin Show tonight. Stay tuned to this channel. Hey, remember, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Kind words, your kind deeds, and follow through make all the difference in the world, because you will never have a new reality with an old mentality. Find excuses to win. Good night, John Boy. Thank you, Matt, Gary, Tony, Brenden, everybody for watching, and share the show.